is up? Hopefully you guys are having a wonderful day. Back here with some more RE2 Remake gameplay for you. And today I'll be talking about more about ResidentEvilRequiem or RE9, whatever you want to call it. And also I just want to let you all know, you probably can expect this, but expect a lot of Resident Evil 9 videos in the next few days and weeks, obviously, because it's always great when you have something you can talk about, because it's not something that you don't know if it's real or not. We have the trailer, we have something to discuss, so always a great feeling. It's always cool to speculate and talk about things, especially when you have something to actually base it on. So, one of the coolest things about the RE9 reveal, other than, oh, we finally got to see it, it does exist, and it's coming out in February, was the realization that we are actually going back to the scene of the crime. We are going back to Raccoon City. And that's what I want to talk about, the potential of going back to Raccoon City. Because let's be honest, Raccoon City, a lot of people, that is Resident Evil. Like, while there has been some impressive locations outside of Raccoon City has to be the overall number one. Just the whole location, whether you're talking about roaming the streets or if you're inside the famous RPD. I mean, honestly, other than the mansion itself, I believe the RPD has to be probably the close second. But, you could argue RPD, mansion, the most iconic locations, but ultimately all of them are pretty close together. Obviously, the Arklay Mountains and Raccoon City and stuff like that. But you guess it, it's a very iconic location. And having come back to it over 25 plus years later is definitely something that seemed like an impossible dream. Seemed like something like, a fan fiction or something you make up in your head. But no, it is actually happening. And it's something that definitely has a lot of potential. So I want to talk about the potential of what they could possibly do with it. And based on what we know with the evidence of this trailer, some questions I have to ask. So, going back here, one thing I do want to point out is that there is a little bit of confusion I've seen online where people are saying, well, wait a minute. We've seen some of the buildings. Even though we have the crater, but you have some of the buildings. Why are there so many buildings? Like, was this a nuke or, what happened? Well, this was not a nuclear warhead that detonated, because a lot of people were questioning, even if, some of the buildings did survive, how could people go in there with all radiation and stuff like that? This was not a nuclear warhead. This was a experimental thermobaric bomb. So basically, it's not a nuke. Now, I do have more to go into, especially about those buildings and them being there, because I do have a question, and maybe it'll be answered, maybe not, but nonetheless, I heard a lot of people saying, why aren't they destroyed? What's going on? So, but another thing we want to talk about is that the RPD, obviously, they showed the RPD, they showed the inside of it, and we expect we're going to obviously have to go inside of it. And I'm just wondering, how much are they going to be able to explore? Is it just going to be completely ruins, or is it going to be housing some type of new experimental lab? Because let's just be honest, one of the things about Resident Evil is that there are a lot of conspiracies with the government, cover-ups and stuff like that. We've seen it countless times before about what really happened with a lot of the viral outbreaks or whatever is going on in the story. And I just feel like my whole concept of going back to Raccoon City, and as I said, I'm just speculating, I don't know, is that I believe that the government knows a lot of what's going on. And maybe it's the organizations, we always hear about them. When we ever get to the bottom of them, who knows? But, whether it's the organizations or the government or maybe even possible rogue BSA, we don't know. But I believe that the government does have a big hand in the cover-up. Because let's be honest, Raccoon City has been quarantined, shut off from the public for about 25 plus years. Would it be the most unbelievable story to believe that, hey, they have barricade us off so they could, build their own labs underneath the rubble of a lot of this stuff, and they've been experimenting on stuff for, a little over a quarter century? Would that be the most ridiculous tale? And we don't know if they've been there a quarter century, or maybe they've been there a decade, or maybe it's more recent. We have no idea. But I do believe that they do have a hand to play in it, whether it's connections, another organization, or the government, or whoever it may be. But I want to go back to the buildings, because I have another question I'd like to ask, and I've been thinking about it a little bit lately. So, the crater, we see the crater, and we obviously have the buildings, and they're just sitting there. But the thing about them is, people said that, man, some of them look really good. I mean, some of them, you obviously see the ruin, but some of them look like nothing happened to them. So here's my question, especially with the buildings more to the left of the picture. Were they built after Raccoon City got hit with a missile, years or whatever later? Or they just, unfortunately, just got kind of like touched by the missile, but nothing really left? Because my thing is, it goes with the conspiracy that maybe the government has been here and they've been building buildings and maybe having a little bit of facade. Who knows? Maybe they're just simply buildings that got untouched, but who knows? Maybe they've been trying to build here because, once again, it's walled off from the public. So would it be the most unbelievable tale to believe that, hey, they have buildings, they have people functioning, living like normal people, and having this whole thing being built, maybe even having a little bit of a society there? Who knows? There's a lot to speculate and wonder here, but the potential is definitely great. And I said, it'd be cool to revisit a lot of iconic locations and then see them in ruins, but also see like the stuff hiding in plain sight, because there's got to be something. There's got to be a lab. It is Resident Evil. So, and also like how many people are in on this? Is this a small group? Is it a massive group? Is it a completely brand new group? Are there a few familiar names involved with this group? Who knows? Because one of the things is, us Resident Evil fans, we hope that Capcom one day ties up a lot of loose ends and stuff. And I know obviously some big plot holes obviously still left, undone, would be the BSA going rogue, the whole Alex Wesker situation, Jessica from Revelations 1, so many other things, maybe some remnants of Umbrella. You never know what they could do. There's so much potential, and then just coming back to the scene of the crime, who knows how long they've been there? And I think that's the ultimate question I want to know is just, I mean, it's no accident we're going back there, but how long has this whole thing been going on? And by the way, was the whole missile launch, was that planned by this whole party? Was that simply just there to erase the evidence? Or, was it legit, hey, we had no choice? Or was it, hey, we're going to launch that missile and then we're going to set up a shop immediately after we launch the missile? As I said, I'm just speculating. I don't know. But it's always fun to speculate. But nonetheless, there's a lot of things you can do. And also, are we going to see iconic creatures that came out of Raccoon City even further mutated? Maybe not just Raccoon City, but somewhere in that whole area. We're going to see more mutated liquors that have a familiarity, but they're also extremely different because of the gap between them since we saw them in RE2 to now. Familiarity, but also some modifications as well. And because there's a lot of things that came out of Raccoon City, so I'm really interested and invested in what they could possibly do. There's a lot of things they can do with the story, and I'm wondering where they're going to land. And the best part is, as I said, we're not going to know until the game comes out in February, but I'm really excited. And also, I guess another question is, how much time are we going to spend in Raccoon City? Because I think by the trailer we can deduce that we at least have two different locations we're playing from, one from the hotel and the other in Raccoon City. Is there going to be more? We don't know. And how long we going to spend these areas, I don't know either, but it is fun to speculate. But as I always like to say, at the end of the day, that is my opinion. I want to hear your guys' opinion. What potential do you see with going back to Raccoon City? And also, with the questions I asked, how do you view it? Do you think that the whole missile launch on Raccoon City was, planned from the beginning, and that this is what they ultimately want to do when things were going under for the company? Maybe this is an Umbrella revival, and they're like, hey, we'll, missile launch the city now, but we'll take over and we'll make a deal with the government and we'll experiment. Or is this something completely different? And whoever is there, and the reason why we're going there, how long has that facade been going on? Has that been going on for a quarter century? Has it gone on like just recently? And who do you ultimately think is running the show? Is it the government, Rogue BSA? Is it the connections? Or is it something completely different? Or is it something that we're not even thinking about, just hiding in plain sight? Let me know in the comment section down below. But that is going to be it. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this video, and hopefully I see you guys back in the next one. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day, and I hope to see you all later. Peace.